Well, Dragon Folk, I know I'm like 8 years late to the party because the Fabled card had been revealed for Dynasty in Flesh and Blood over the World Championship weekend. And I've seen some controversy about it. Welcome on in, Dragon Folk. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. I know I am. My name is Ashen Wings, and I want to start this video off by letting you all know that first and foremost, I am brand new to Flesh and Blood, so please do not destroy me in the comments. Instead, educate me. I'd love to learn about the game even more so. Its economy, its play style, its expensive playmats, the whole nine. But more importantly, I wanted to get a big shout out and thank you to everybody who has checked out my previous Flesh and Blood videos and has shown their support to me being a content creator for Flesh and Blood as well as Magic the Gathering. It has meant a lot, and I'm very happy to be a part of this community, and I hope to continue to learn every single day. So what I'm going to talk about today is something that I've read multiple opinions on and multiple takes on this matter, which is the Fabled card that was printed in Dynasty for Flesh and Blood, right? The newest expansion coming out for Flesh and Blood. And the Fabled card is for the record, a rarity that is the highest rarity card you can find in a set. A Fabled rarity is like the big card, right? You usually just get about one in, maybe even like one in, I don't know, one in every like 2 cases, probably more. So you have to open a lot of boxes in order to try to find these Fables. Normally, these Fabled cards are cards that, one, you can only carry one of in your deck. You can only have one Fabled card in your deck of a certain type. So, for instance, the Heart of Findal or the Eye of Ophidia, those cards you can only have one of in your deck. And when they pitch, they do something, such as gaining your hero life or opting. You also have with Monarch and Tales of Aria, you have the addition of landmarks, which are just like brand new things that allow you to get additional, kind of not so much resources, but you utilize a lot of additional resources. The Monarch one allows you to have an additional card per turn if you pitched yellow cards, something along those lines. But in Dynasty, this is the very first time we have seen an attack action card be used as a Fabled. And the attack action card is none other than Command and Conquer. Now, there were some speculative posts about the fact that it could be Command and Conquer. It very much so fulfills that Dynasty feel of like the card you would get. The thing is, though, is that this is a reprint. And it is a reprint of a card that is already going for $70 on the open market, has only been reprinted twice before this, and has only been at a majestic rarity. But now you see Command and Conquer in a cold foil kind of, artwork with brand new art and in the Fabled rarity. Now, I'm not too sure where I had read this. This was just posts that were said all over Facebook in regards to some fan pages. I had seen it in some comment sections about certain things. Command and Conquer, first and foremost, is a card that is utilized pretty frequently in the top tier meta. While it is not necessary for you to enjoy Flesh and Blood, there is a reason this card is going for $70 for its base version. And that is because it's good and really, really trips up your opponent in regards to its ability. This now printing, not only has there been a new art for it, but a rarity bump for this card too. And I had heard that apparently, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, because I'm not sure whether or not this is actually correct. This is me being full front honest with all of you in the fact that I want to hear actual facts from people. I want to learn the actual data about this, but James White had apparently said something about reprinting of cards always being kind of uglier than their previous versions and never getting super high quality, extra rare variants of cards, except for things like maybe promos for winning tournaments and so on and so forth. So if that is correct, then this is an interesting thing to see because this does not follow that same method. This is a Fabled card that you can pull out of Dynasty. And while it is a Command and Conquer, which is, very, very good because Command and Conquer is a great card, I'm not too sure what the pull rate is compared to, well, let's just say if you were to open an Arcane Rising box, right? An unlimited box of Arcane Rising. Are you more likely to pull a Command and Conquer as a Majestic in an Arcane Rising than you are a Fabled version of it in Dynasty? Now, understanding that Dynasty, while having a brand new class in it, is very supplemental in a lot of its cards, seeing a Command & Conquer reprint is not terrible. The card looks amazing, first and foremost, and personally, unless this card goes against whatever reprint policy has been put into place through LSS, and there are some players out there that say this stuff, and it may be correct in the fact that James White didn't want to make flashier versions of cards that already exist in the game and make them super, rare and hard to find, then unfortunately, right, that's a weird step because that is no longer the case with this being the example. I don't really see much of an issue with it. I view something like this a lot like I view new cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Being printed in higher or lower rarities. Getting a card printed in the very first printing of itself, if it's a really, really powerful card in Yu-Gi-Oh!, it's normally printed in secret rare, which is fairly hard to get. I think you get about 2 a box. And there are about a decent amount of cards that come in secret rare. So, you're not guaranteed to get the one you want, and obviously you can continue hunting for them, but that is eventually going to be a gambler's premium that you're going to choose. Eventually, they will come out with a Starlight Rare version of those cards, and the Starlight Rare version will come in a set years down the line, and it will be really, really crazy hard to find. Not to mention the fact that it will go for at least 7, if not 8 times the price of its Secret Rare, if that Secret Rare has not also been reprinted several times in an Ultra Rare or a Super Rare variant of itself to reduce the cost. Having special versions of cards is not a foreign concept for TCGs, especially with collectors. And the way I'm seeing people play Flesh and Blood, there are a lot of people who play Flesh and Blood much like Yu-Gi-Oh! Players play Yu-Gi-Oh! In the way that if the most expensive version of a card exists, they're going to want that. And that is going to be something that they're going to want to play with in their deck, right? Look at the Marvel Dragons from Uprising. And look at the cold foil cards from all these other previous sets. Those are the things you're going to want to like bling out your deck, essentially. And that's just what players are going to do, right? That is just a general purpose of this. And to be able to open this product and have a chance at, Command and Conquer, this card is going for a lot. And more importantly, if you pull this Command and Conquer currently before the cards even come out, because today, as of this video, is the actual release of Dynasty. Before these cards even come out, this Command and Conquer is going for $1,300, which means that you could buy a bunch of other Command and Conquers for the price of one. Now, whether or not that's actually going to be accurate at the time of release is up to the public, right? It all depends on how much of the product is opened, how many Fables are printed in a set, yada yada, and given those numbers, we find out what the general price point is. I mean, even if this card went for $750, right, 10 times the amount almost of what the original version of the card goes for, that would make a lot of sense because it's a cold foil, full art version of the card, and people are going to want that. But I'm curious about the whole reprint policy. I hope you guys let me know in the comments down below what the reprint policy is for this kind of stuff, whether or not they are talking about making sure that if a card is printed in a certain rarity, that they would never give it a rarity bump. They would never, if they're going to reprint a card, is it going to be reprinted in a lesser rarity or even a worse version of itself? Such as if you could only get it in rainbow foil, can you now get it in non-foil? You'd have to let me know in the comments down below what the whole issue with that is. But otherwise, I think it's really cool to see this new Fabled card. Obviously, I'm really late to the party, like at least a solid week and a half late to the party. But I am very happy to be covering Flesh and Blood, and I'm happy that I can continue to make content in regards to this game. I'm really enjoying it, and for those of you watching, I am going to my very first Armory event on Saturday. If any of you are in the Addison, Illinois area, and you are heading to the Min-Max Games in Addison, you can always go ahead and see me there, because that's where I plan to be. So, any of my Illinois friends, feel free to pop on by. I'd be more than happy to say hi to you guys. But I just kind of want to give it a check out and see what happens, and see whether or not my very jank Dromai build can do well at the locals. So wish me best of luck. And while you're down there writing that comment, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel as well if you have not already. And I will see you all very soon. Nerd out.